Hello and welcome to this next installment of my game dev series. In this video I'd like to swing right back to what I was doing in the last video and do a little cleanup quick. I noticed that I had left this debug line that is not needed anymore, so that is gone. Secondarily, if we go back to the font file, I had mentioned that I don't really use one character variable names, and frankly I don't even want this to be necessary in this file. So what I'm going to do is pull this out, take out this conditional to check for a blank string, we'll just call it text color. We'll go with that. Now, having removed that, what I do need to do is go back to my text writer where I'm initializing the various font colors. I need to add a reference in the unordered map for that. So we'll call that white. Makes sense here. And we will place that. Yeah, that was right. So actually, no, that is not right. That needs to be just a blank string. That is going to be the default if you don't pass in anything else. In fact, we'll put that on top. So we can build that. Oh boy. Actually, yeah, okay. Right, because that's RGBT. It's not a string. Now if we pop into game, yep, that is still working as intended. So we'll chop this guy up quick. Turn collision off for the moment. We'll talk to the gnome just to make sure that the yes/no text color is graying out on the unselected option, like it was before, which it is. So that's basically the cleanup that I wanted to do there. As I had mentioned in a prior video, there's another thing that I've been thinking about lately, and that I'm passing a reference to state into a lot of functions, and I thought that this would be an ideal time to clean up some of that. I'm not going to be able to clean it up in the entirety of the code base here in video just because there's a lot of references to it. That being said, I should be able to do that just within the context of this font rendering code. So I think the first place to start out is here in text writer, and what we want to do, since we can't save a reference really like this to the state, what we can do is save a pointer to it, and that's just gonna, get passed in here. So that'll become a pointer. Header, that becomes a pointer. And then what I want to do at the top of this function is here. We can call that S because why not? State equals S. That should save that. And I'm going to come back to this because obviously within the scope of this file we will need to change a bunch of things here, as you can well imagine. But what we need to do in engine.cpp, where we're calling TextWriter init, we need to set up that pointer and pass it in. So we can do type state t, call it s equals that. There we go. And we'll just pass s into our init function there. Now, that should be the only function here that takes state now. So I do want to remove it from the function headers here, or function declarations, I should say, as well as in the header. And then obviously everywhere within the code that you see these functions, I need to modify those as well. It is not dot, it is going to be that. And yeah, I mean, I could probably do a find and replace on that. Let me try that. I don't know if you can do a global find and replace here. Oh, you can. Okay, that's nice. So replace that with that. Replace all. You just hit enter. Replace all, yes. Okay, I think that went well. Never actually done that before. Okay, so we can close that, and let's do it with set. Find that, replace. We'll do it with get word width. And that'll be 8 occurrences in 2 files. So this is gonna blow up when I build it for sure. That's all right. I just want to get an idea of course it can't. Dev mode CPP. Right, there are some instances where it could not find that expression pattern, so I'm going to have to replace those manually. But that's okay. And TextWriter is going to have a lot of things where I need to use that kind of syntax. So state should get just a little bit closer. Right, and then all of the places where we're passing state into font, we will need to replace those as well. So if we go into font here, actually let me copy the beginning of this from TextWriter, because font will need its own init function now. We'll put that in its header. And then we can, again, same deal, remove the state parameters and all these functions. I mean, that's almost as dumb as like in Python where you are creating a class and you have to pass self into, or declare self in every function. Definition is like, why can't that just be inferred? I don't know. Granted, this is not quite the same context, but the stupidity is near the same, in my opinion. There's just so much redundancy when you can do effectually the same thing with a much simplified approach. It's like I'm not unit testing all this, so there's not like I can't have some semblance of globalness to some of this. So it is what it is, I guess. I'm certainly never going to claim that this is, the perfect game code or what I would write professionally for my day job, but for what I need, it seems to be pretty decent, in my opinion. Glyph, that is a function here in this file, so we can remove that. Position, state renderer, state text, color, state. Something else that kind of bothers me about C++, well, C as well, is why is it that you need to use this arrow syntax? Why can't it infer the difference between, heap memory and whatever, and just use dot syntax for both of them? Right? I don't know. And you get languages like PHP that take the arrow syntax for object properties and methods, where they could just use a period, except they use a period for concatenation, which is just mind-bogglingly stupid. But whoever designed that probably does not know much about language design. Not saying that I do, but having used them for a while, it's just silliness. So this is looking alright. We just need to do, well, first of all, we should call our init for that as well, so we can pass in the state pointer. And then for all of the functions here, we can do our find and replace. Two instances of that, theoretically. Could be more. Two of that. Four of that. We'll see if that's actually the case. It looks like it is. It has not thrown an error, so we'll get an executable here. And everything looks all right. Just giving this a final check. Not that I don't think it'll be perfectly fine, but yeah, I think that's good. So thankfully that was quicker than the video prior, less errors to deal with, and I think that has cleaned up the code a lot. I mean, when you're not having to arbitrarily pass a state reference into a bunch of these functions, they seem to make a lot more sense. And hopefully I can do the same exercise to clean that up in the rest of the code. I will not drag you along for that, but I do appreciate your watching if you made it to this point, and hopefully you will stick around until the next video.